is that a 37-year-old woman is dead and that she was shot by ICE. We've dreaded this moment since the early stages of this ICE presence in Minneapolis. Not only is this a concern that we've had internally, we've been talking about it.
We've also been talking about it. Wait, they've been talking about it? They talk to each other? Who do they talk to? Nobody's sure. That is the dim-witted mayor of the sad former city known as Minneapolis, Minnesota. His name is Jacob Fry. And what a menace this guy is to civilization. Wow, wow, wow. Little cat scratch fever there. I don't know to tell you. I mean, the Democrat Party, if the Democrat Party had any leadership, what would they do with them? It's kind of like yesterday's Wizard of Oz cut. What would you do with a brain if you had one? I got to tell you, I don't like the police chief there either. That guy's he's a POW. What's that? That's a piece of work. See, I thought something else, but I cleaned it up at the last minute there. See that? He's a POW, he's a piece of work. Not a person of color. They call people of color. They call POC. We played a soundbite yesterday of a Democrat referring to everybody who's not white as POC. That's that racist in New York who wants to take property away from white people first and then other non-white people after that. The Democrat Party is the left. The left is a warlike, bloodthirsty gang of ghouls, and they're here. We call them the Democrat Party. Not so great. Now, I know you've seen the video, and the police officer who was, in the end, in front of the vehicle and had to pull the trigger on the Democrat named Good, Renee Nicole Good, 37-year-old mother of apparently one child or three children, and I think she was there with her wife. Isn't that true? She was there at the rally with her wife, and she's blocking the street, and she's waving people around her car like she's in charge of traffic flow. The police arrived, federal law enforcement, got out, told her to get out of the vehicle. She said, I think I'll just punch it and race toward you instead. Let's go to soundbite number one because there are several different videos and different angles, and the different angles are very different. Now, the news media went crazy based on one angle where you couldn't see her hitting the officer, and then CNN made up new definitions for words. Well, they said, no, she didn't race the car at him, hit the federal law enforcement officer. Jonathan Wackrow, former Secret Service agent, allegedly on CNN, said that the federal officer bounces himself off of it. He bounces himself off of it. Hey, this is fun. We're having fun. Yay. And just completely nuts. We're bouncing. He does what? What does he do?
So he puts his non-shooting hand down. And basically, he bounces himself off of it.
He bounces himself off it. She didn't race the car at him and hit him. No. And Manderson Pooper, he was pretty close, too. Then they got this fake. He's an embarrassment to the Secret Service. And honestly, and then Manderson Pooper, who's not an embarrassment to the Secret Service, but is an embarrassment to malehood everywhere. And he's got another myth that he's peddling.
Eventually, he backs up a step or two. It appears he comes into contact with the forward-moving vehicle and fires 3 shots.
He comes into contact with the forward-moving vehicle. He was in front of the vehicle. It was forward-moving. She was driving the car. She had her foot not on the brake, but on the gas. And then the vehicle, what did he say? Comes into contact. But Manderson Pooper blames him. He comes into the contact is the vehicle coming into contact with him because she's racing the vehicle at him, and she comes into contact with him.
It appears he comes into contact with the forward-moving vehicle.
Yeah, that's how that happened. Isn't that amazing? They're just amazing. And it sounded like this. Here's where the federal law enforcement people come up. She has a gun pointed at her face. She's got a federal law enforcement agent right at her window, which is rolled down. And he's 2 agents shouting at her, get out of the car, get out of the car. They can see she's not going anywhere. And then there's, get out of the beeping car, and he curses at her. Then she punches it, and he actually grabbed the door handle of her vehicle and tried to open the door because he was trying to get her to get out of the vehicle. She had been parked. broadside across the road there, and in a nice residential neighborhood where the Democrats were protesting against ICE because ICE was, enforcing the law as passed by Congress. The Democrat Party is the party of anarchy and arson and firebombing the Jews in Colorado and in Pennsylvania. They firebombed the Jews. They terrorized the Jews in New York and in Los Angeles. They burned cities over George Floyd dying of cardiac failure when he was resisting arrest again for the who knows how many times. And, well, let's go to one because this one is where you can hear the federal law enforcement agents approaching her and telling her to get out of the car. She instead decides to punch it and race toward one of the officers who, according to CNN, I guess he bounced himself off the car. That's what he did. He bounces himself off the car, and then he comes into contact, Manderson Pooper said, with the forward-moving vehicle, which is actually a kid when I was a kid growing up. I know somebody, I don't want to say who, I know somebody at high school here's the story, was doing a drug deal in the back of the parking lot at a high school, Glenbrook South High School, north of Chicago. And a police officer saw this suspicious behavior back of the parking lot, started heading back there on foot, assigned to the school. The police officer in uniform heading back there on foot. One of the people involved in the drug deal jumps in a car, sees the cop coming, jumps in a car, Glenview Police, and races toward the police officer, trying to flee the scene. Police officer runs from lane to lane in the high school parking lot, gets in front of the car, racing at him. The car racing at him. The police officer had to dive out of the way to get out of the way of the car. That driver was arrested for attempted murder on a police officer. That's when I was a teenager. Right? It's like, I guess you're not supposed to race your car at the police and have them jump out of the way because that's attempted murder police officer. But with everything is different with Democrats because of the brain damage and the drugs and everything. But Renee Nicole Good was 37 years old when she died yesterday. Ironically, on January 7th, a day after the Democrats were celebrating U.S. Capitol Police Officer Michael Byrd, who shot and killed Ashley Babbitt on January 6th, 5 years earlier. And the Democrats literally gave him a medal. The Democrats on Capitol Hill literally gave that police officer a medal. Isn't that amazing? And now they want to lynch this police. And Ashley Babbitt was not racing her car at U.S. Capitol Police Officer Byrd. She was just laughing and smiling and having a good time and having a great day when she was shot and killed without warning. She's a white woman. He was a black police officer. Now just imagine a white police officer shooting a black woman who was laughing and protesting. It's her First Amendment right. The Democrats would burn Seattle and loot Portland because it's what they do. All right, now let's get back to a bit of audio here because these people. Let's go to this. This guy is just the worst of the worst. He really. Oh, I apologize. I'm jumping ahead again, aren't I? Oh, yeah, this is the audio of the officers coming up and saying, get out of the car, get out of the car. Then we had to beep one, get out of the beeping car. That was the most commonly used word out there yesterday. More than and, more than is. The F word was very much in evidence. And you hear that first of all, you can hear the police. And it was hard on TV last night, but Michael got a better version. Get out of the car, get out of the car. Then they can see, the police can see that she's not responding to lawful police commands in a situation where there's a large-scale federal law enforcement operation taking place, and Democrats came out to obstruct justice all over the place, right? And this woman, Renee Good, was one of the people obstructing federal law enforcement. She was there and turned sideways with her vehicle in the middle. I assume it's her vehicle. She might have stolen it. Oh, also, this is something I saw when she was racing away and then crashed into a parked car not far from from where she was. She had a lot of, like all left-wing radicals, she had a lot of bumper stickers on her car. And I haven't seen anybody that photographed the rear end of her car so we can see her bumper stickers, because I want to see her bumper stickers. I assume there's, the usual assortment of Democrat Party, Obama and Hillary and Kamala and, the abort everybody and the usual Democrat Party stuff, right? I am telling you. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I got this whack crowd guy on CNN yesterday. I know people, and I talk to people, and I still got a few teeth in my head and a few friends in town, as was that John Huston said in Chinatown, the movie Chinatown. And it turns out this whack crowd guy is not a well-respected former Secret Service agent, not a well-respected agent. But you live, and then you end up on CNN, so he's probably happy. That's their thing. All right, let's get to the ridiculous Mayor Jacob Fry of Minneapolis, an embarrassment to Western civilization, and he wants, I don't know, civil war. He wants to call up the National Guard of Minneapolis to go to war against Immigration and Customs Enforcement, federal law enforcement agency, and he wants to fire on Fort Sumter. Here's Democrat Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Fry.
They are not here to cause safety in this city.
Cause safety.
What they are doing is not to provide safety in America. What they are doing is causing chaos and distrust. They're ripping families apart.
No, they're not.
Sowing chaos on our streets.
No, they're not.
And in this case, quite literally killing people.
Well, then that person that was tragically killed, 37-year-old mother of a future suicide bomber, probably, Renee Good, she was racing her car at a federal law enforcement agent who had a pistol pointed at her, which is a bad idea. That's bad idea genes, Hey, I figured, when's the next time I'm going to be in Haiti, Honestly, you people are completely ridiculous. And by the way, the lefties in Minnesota and Minneapolis in particular, there is, I don't know if you follow her, but Insurrection Barbie on Al Gore's amazing internet, on Twitter, on X, and posting, Minnesota has spent years building an infrastructure of ICE watch patrols, non-governmental organizations, backed rapid response teams, and politically wired nonprofits that are never nonprofit that can flip from ordinary life to street mobilization in a matter of minutes. The key to Minnesota's rapid mobilization is not Twitter activism, and this is true, this is absolutely crazy, because the Democrats, and in fact, now we've got that, maybe we'll get to that tomorrow, I don't know. But there it is. So they've got, it turns out, and this is true, Insurrection Barbie has been documented, others have as well. The key to Minnesota's rapid mobilization is not Twitter activism, it's an on-the-ground surveillance and response network that local reporters have already documented in detail. A Minneapolis Star-Tribune, their newspaper, investigation into the organized resistance to ICE. That's their headline, Organized Resistance to ICE. In Minnesota, reads like a field manual for modern grassroots intelligence organizations. In South Minneapolis, volunteers spend hours driving what they openly call ICE patrols. Phones are mounted on dashboards, for the videos. Every sighting of a suspicious SUV, every cluster of federal jackets is recorded and dropped into Signal and WhatsApp groups that run silently in the background of daily life. Those chats are not small. A single Spanish-language group, described by local reporting, grew from a few dozen members to hundreds, Spanish language in Minnesota. As the federal crackdown began, one message that ICE is at a gas station, at a grocery store, or an apartment complex can draw a crowd in a matter of minutes to that gas station, to that grocery store, to that apartment complex. This is the Democrat Party, and they're just not on our side. When roughly 2,000 federal agents arrived in the region, that has spent years quietly building an anti-law enforcement machine. Confrontation is not a question of if, but of when. And this goes on. Honestly, there's a lot here, these left-wing groups that have organized themselves to death in Minneapolis against federal law enforcement. This is, and people in Congress need to start saying this out loud. The speaker should come out. This is tantamount to civil war. You're waging war against federal law enforcement agencies. You're conspiring, organizing against them. You're violent. And now the governor there is activating the National Guard to oppose the federal government. Sure. When do they announce they're bringing back slavery? Okay, let us go back to the telephones. Let's go to Homer. Let's go to Homer calling from Springfield. Homer in Springfield, Virginia. Homer, you are on the Chris Plant Show. Hey, homie.
Yeah, Chris. I was just, I read the BBC News post about this tragic death of this young woman.
Uh-huh.
And it said in there that she was a stay-at-home mom. And I'm thinking that if she would have stayed at home, we wouldn't be talking about this.
She's a stay-at-home, not frequently enough mom.
Apparently. I mean, it's tragic, but,
sure.
The BBC post was pretty biased, let's say.
No. Cut it out. State-run media in Great Britain where Mohammed is the number one name of newborn baby boys. Huh. London Stan and all that. And hey, let's bring the jihad into England and see if that makes everything better on the beautiful countryside. Isn't that great? Stay-at-home mom, that's very funny. And your immediate thought was, say it again now, Homer?
Was that if she would have stayed home, if she was a stay-at-home mom, we wouldn't be talking about this.
That's exactly right. That's very funny. Yeah, that's great stuff. You're Homer calling from Springfield. That's great.
All right. And the number two name for babies born in London is
it's also
Mohammed.
It's also Mohammed.
Way.
Yep. It's Mohammed with a different spelling, right, Homer?
That's correct.
That's right. Top two names are Mohammed and Mohammed. Yeah, I love this headline. Homer got me going calling from Springfield, which is just wonderful. And there's a BBC saying she's a stay-at-home mom. And Homer wants to correctly observe, if she had stayed at home, she'd still be at home with her alleged kids and her wife. And her wife was standing nearby, apparently, when she was shot. Not a bright bunch of people. But, I was talking to my friend Vince Colonnese this morning, the great Vince Colonnese, wonderful guy, and we were talking about him and all the madness in Minnesota. Why Minnesota again? What the hell happened to Minnesota? Honestly, now it's like Mogadishu on LSD. The place is a loony bin. If the stay-at-home mom, as Homer and I were just discussing, if she had stayed at home, and Vince Colonnese and I were talking about this, we operate out of the same studio in Washington, D.C., and we hang out with each other and stuff, and great guy. And if she had stayed home, then she wouldn't have left her children at home and abandoned them. She wouldn't have parked her car sideways across the middle of the street, obstructing a federal law enforcement operation. She wouldn't have disobeyed the commands, lawful police commands of federal law enforcement. She wouldn't have raced her car at an armed federal law enforcement officer in camouflage wearing a helmet with a gun in his hand. If she had been a stay-at-home mom, then everything would be fine. But as Vince and I were discussing today, this is the Democrat Party has done this to the weak-minded, and I've been talking about this for years. The Democrat Party has been seizing on, I think it started in large part with Occupy Wall Street, where all the zombies are chanting the same thing again and again, like glassy-eyed loons. But the Democrats have brainwashed, propagandized, incited, inflamed And make no mistake, we just played the Governor Tim Walz doing a commencement address, calling everybody fascists and Nazis and the Gestapo, and he can't pronounce Gestapo. I think he called them gazpacho, which is spicy soup, but that doesn't matter now. And he said, damn gazpacho. And you can't get it out of your shirt either. That's the problem with gazpacho.
Donald Trump's modern-day Gestapo is scooping folks up off the streets.
Which one? Scooping people off the streets. The Democrats leave them there to die, and then the gazpacho comes by to scoop them off the streets. These people. Yeah, stay-at-home mom. Hey, let me just send this message out there to Democrat white women across America. If you're a stay-at-home mom, stay at home. What the hell are you doing in the street? What are you sacrificing your children to the cause? Bunch of lunatics. Man, oh, man. Oh, yeah, and then we didn't even get to, we haven't gotten to number 4 because he was cursing up a storm yesterday. Jacob Fry, the mayor of Minneapolis, and this guy's a radical. He's an extremist. He's not very bright, and these are not the good guys. Jacob Fry, the mayor of Minneapolis, say, oh, yeah, sure, just because this lady who's a Democrat and a stay-at-home mom, and I love this headline, too. Here's the Guardian this is global news, you know. Because they figure America's going to burn again and then civil war will come and the Democrats will bring back slavery because they love slavery and illegal aliens, cheap labor. What's with them? And they got a long history of loving cheap labor, don't they? From slavery and the bullwhip to illegal alien. I've told this story before, but I know people. I know a bunch of people. And a woman I've known for a long, long time. Well-to-do lifestyle, very comfortable, well-to-do lifestyle. Chevy Chase, Maryland, very, very nice. Multi-million-dollar houses everywhere. And she had 2 sons and got an illegal alien to be like the nanny at the house and drive the kids to school and everything, right? And the woman, lovely woman, was named Liberty, right? And I always said, well, Liberty, very nice person. Said she sleeps in a dog bed by the hot water heater in the basement in the utility room. And I always called her Irony because I thought it was ironic to call her Liberty, so I always called her Irony. Hey, where's Irony? And I'd ask her, so it's Irony. And yesterday I was telling you about when I was driving in and a woman who was doubtless an illegal alien from another country who was driving a black Mercedes-Benz SUV out of the driveway of a very exclusive private school in Washington, D.C. that I was driving by. And this woman from another country came barreling out of the driveway and literally nearly crashed into me and pulled out in front of me. I kind of waved to, get her in front of me because I didn't want her behind me, right? And as she pulled away in the black Mercedes SUV, I saw the back of the vehicle had a bumper sticker, which you see everywhere in Washington these days, said, please be patient on top and then on bottom. Student driver. And I came in and I said, this is one of these things because I saw it and I laughed. I was in the car by myself. And I actually laughed audibly. I laughed because what I thought when I saw it was the bumper sticker should say illegal alien, right? Please be patient, illegal alien driver. Right? And I just kind of chuckled to myself. And it's funny. Now here comes, in its own way, here comes the Mr. Bill's dog. Here comes the dim-witted mayor of Minneapolis, Minnesota. His name is Jacob Fry, and he's there. There are 3 or 4 different videos that I've seen so far, different angles of the woman racing the car at the federal law enforcement officer who's holding a gun up at arm's length and pointing it at her face. That's not when you punch it at the guy, This is why stay-at-home moms shouldn't join the revolution. Just be a stay-at-home and make some mac and cheese. Watch Sally Jesse. Is that show still on? I don't think it is, but I don't care. All right, here's the mayor of Minneapolis.
They are already trying to spin this as an action of self-defense. Having seen the video of myself, I want to tell everybody directly, that is bull. This was an agent recklessly using power that resulted in somebody dying, getting killed.
Dying and getting killed, and whose life ended, just to be particularly repetitive, redundant, and duplicative. Isn't that great? And now, wait a minute. And there's one video where you can't quite see I didn't see the third video, I think, until later on yesterday. I was busy having surgery. Yesterday I had surgery. On my neck, I got a bandage on my neck the size of your head on the back of my neck. It's not a tumor. Oh, it is a tumor, but that's not important now. All right, so let's get to this. It's no big deal. It was fine. 90-minute surgery. I was awake. I was like, yeah, how about those Redskins? And so it is. They're trying to spin it as self-defense. Well, that's beep, because the Democrats, they all think it's all grown up to swear when they're holding press conferences and things. I can say that word because I'm angry. They have the brains of children. They really do. And Jacob Fry has the brain of a child. They're trying to spin this as self-defense. All right, Mayor Fry, go stand on the street there. I'll get in my car, and I'll recreate the situation for you. But you don't get a gun. Right? I just get to see if I can hit you with my car. So you go stand over there. I'm going to get in my car. I'm going to punch it towards you, and then you tell me what's self-defense and what's not. And then let's go to federal law enforcement training because, well, I've got audio to get to on that, too, as a matter of fact. Because he followed federal law enforcement training and the training that he got as an ICE agent, and that if a car, and I saw some clown on CNN saying, well, training says you can't fire at a car that's going away from you or driving past you. And then the fake anchor person just nods and looks concerned. Right? Well, this car was racing toward that officer, and the bullet holes in the front end of the car and the windshield going through. And here's the line from the hole in the windshield to where the driver's seat is. So that'll tell you where the officer was positioned. But our news media is they lack the critical facilities. Let's go to faculties. Let's go to Mayor Fry again.
There's little I can say, again, that'll make this situation better. But I do have a message.
That's true.
For
Here
our
it is.
Community, for our city.
It's going to make it better.
And I have a message for ICE.
And for ICE.
To ICE, get the f*** out of Minneapolis. We do not want you here. Your stated reason for being in this city is to create some kind of safety, and you are doing exactly the opposite.
No, you are doing exactly the opposite, and federal law enforcement is enforcing federal law, and you're engaging in insurrection. And, there's such a thing as the Insurrection Act, which has been used many times. Might have to be whipped out again, but now the Democrat governor of Minnesota is talking about calling up the National Guard and attacking Fort Sumter because the Democrat Party is just as un-American as any gang of foreign miscreants that you can find anywhere on the earth. They're not on our side. They love radical Islamists that go to Columbia University and stir up anti-Semitism. They have illegal alien gang members like Kilmore Abrego Garcia, the Senator Chris Van Hollen, Democrat from Maryland, went to Central America to have a nice Slurpee drink with an elbow straw with him and hug him and give him a foot massage. They're in favor of Hamas and not Israel. They're in favor of Tren de Aragua and MS-13, and not school children in the United States whose genitals they want to gather and put in mayonnaise jars on Funkin' Wagnall's front porch. They're just unbelievable. There's very little he can do to make things better. Well, that seems obvious at this point. He who is dim of wit, just extraordinary. Yeah, and it's law enforcement enforcing laws as passed by Congress. The state of Minnesota, their governor and the mayor of Minneapolis, are in a state of revolt in the United States of America. And a lot of this is being fueled and funded by groups. You trace the money trail back, it goes to communist China. I know it sounds like, oh, that's BS, but it's not BS. Here's the Democrat mayor.
Again, the narrative that ICE is spinning immediately after this was that this was purely self-defense and that the act by the victim was some sort of domestic terrorism. That, and I'll say it again, is bull. That is bull. The way they've been conducting themselves is also bullshit.
Now, hey, Potty Mouth, this is a family network, and you're not playing well with each other. So it gets. They're just amazing. That was 31. And Jacob Fry, So he's like, his F-bomb here and BS bomb there, and he's very angry little child. He has he has the brain of a child. I've been saying this for years, and it becomes more and more true. They become less and less intellectually capable as the years go by. Democrat Mayor Jacob Fry.
Sorry if I offended their Disney princess ears, but here's the thing. If we're talking about what's inflammatory, on the one hand, you got someone who dropped an F-bomb, and on the other hand, you got someone who killed somebody else. F-bomb, killing somebody. I think the more inflammatory action is killing somebody. And so, once again, let's be real and just honest and straight up about what's happening here. This is not okay. The way they're coming into cities, not just Minneapolis, but around the country, is not okay.
You have some Democrats who refuse to be a part of the United States of America. They engage in separatist, insurrectionist conduct and behavior. They codify their anti-American behavior, beliefs, by passing laws saying that they are sanctuary cities and that they will never respect federal law and the supremacy clause in the Constitution of the federal government when it comes to state law versus federal law. And I got to tell you this, and he was on CNN there. So, they're upset that I said beep, and they're upset that I said beep. Well, they can beep, and because I don't care, because what's really bad is that a woman was shot to death by federal law enforcement. She was racing her car at them, and then he lies about that. I saw the video. There's nobody around. That police officer was at home in Ohio when this happened. Completely ridiculous. These people. And I got to, let's, do you like that next fry? Yeah, the next fry. Yeah, now let's, oh boy, there's an boy, oh boy. Oh, that's my fault, isn't it? That's entirely my fault. Because I was watching this press conference yesterday and I was sending text messages in real time. Let's go to Kristi Noem, who has a slightly different perspective. The Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, who held a press conference yesterday wearing a cowboy hat. It was like a Wild West thing. It was pretty cool. And Kristi Noem saying, well, wait a minute. This woman was racing her car at a federal law enforcement agent who had pulled his pistol from his holster and was pointing it at her face. And every day is an IQ test, as I like to say. Here's Kristi Noem.
It was an act of domestic terrorism. What happened was our ICE officers were out in an enforcement action. They got stuck in the snow because of the adverse weather that is in Minneapolis. They were attempting to push out their vehicle, and a woman attacked them and those surrounding them and attempted to run them over and ram them with her vehicle. An officer of ours acted quickly and defensively shot to protect himself and the people around him. And my understanding is that she was hit and is deceased.
Yeah, that's true. You got that right. That's for sure. And the Democrats just they're just not on the side of civilization. Forget about being on the side of America. We know they're not that. Oh, look what I've done to the clock. I've done it again. Kristi Noem. Today alone in this country, there have been 4 different domestic terrorist attacks on federal officers by the ramming of vehicles. 3 of them happened here in Minneapolis. We've seen over 100 of these vehicle rammings happen in just recent weeks, and this must stop. ICE alone is facing a 1,300% increase in assaults against them and an 8,000% increase in death threats against all of them. In fact, the very same officer who was attacked today had previously been dragged by an anti-ICE rioter who had rammed him with a car and drug him back in June. He sustained injuries at that time as well. The first question at the press conference was, can you identify for us the officer involved in the shooting? Give us his name, because we want to turn it over to the left. And sure, you have it right there? Oh, do you? Okay, here's the first question.
Open it to questions.
Any idea on the identity of the ICE officer who fired him?
Because we want to torture him.
I don't have that information, no. The question was, is there an identity of the ICE officer that fired? I do not have that.
But the left-wing guerrilla group called the Democrat Party would use that information to terrorize family because they're anti-American. They're un-American. They're anti-civilization. They are here to wage war against civilization. They're not liberals. They're the left. know the terrible new host of the TV show Jeopardy? We used to have Alex Trebek, and he was a Canadian, but he was good at Jeopardy. Now they have this guy, Ken Jennings, and I've got to say my best girl has an unusual dislike for this Ken Jennings guy. He went on the left-wing social media platform Blue Sky, where he declared that whoever in the United States of America in 2028 runs on a platform of prosecuting Trump and members of the Trump regime, he calls it the Trump regime, has my vote. So it's like Jeopardy drowned in a shallow tub and was buried in a shallow grave today. Ken Jennings, I've got to say, I think this is going to be the end of Jeopardy in our household, and my best girl will be real happy about the Jeopardy host goes scorched earth on Trump regime, and the left-wing media is all over him. They want to make him into a hero. I think the Democrats may not stop until it gets really bad in the United States of America. But he's just another Democrat. All right? Severely mentally ill Democrat. Another SMID. Severely mentally ill Democrat. Yeah, and Jeopardy host Ken Jennings, 2028 candidate who vows to prosecute Trump regime, has my vote. Do you have any idea what you do for a living? They pay him millions of dollars, and Michael Jordan should give him a call and say, Republicans watch Jeopardy too, probably more than Democrats, and likely get the questions correct much more frequently. I know it's an answer for a question, but their answers are better. The Democrat Party, I don't know what we're going to do with them. Maybe we should talk to Big Pharma. Maybe they could come up with a fix.